The stage is set for history as the first ever 12-team college football playoff kicks off this Friday night. For the fans of college football, this is uncharted territory, a postseason expansion that brings new opportunities, challenges, and of course, plenty of drama. With the added teams come fresh storylines and questions surrounding each program as they prepare for their opening round matchups. Let's break down the biggest storylines for each contender ahead of this historic weekend. The Oregon Ducks enter the playoffs as the number 1 seed, riding the momentum of a dominant regular season, the only undefeated team in college football. Dillon Gabriel has been the heartbeat of this team. But can Oregon handle the pressure of being the top dog in uncharted postseason territories and remain undefeated? The Georgia Bulldogs are back in familiar territory, boasting the number 2 seed and one of the most complete rosters on the field. After winning the SEC title, Kirby Smart's squad will look to reassert its dominance, answering questions: is starting quarterback Carson Beck okay, or will they have to rely on the shoulder of backup quarterback Gunnar Stockton to lead them to another title? The Boise State Broncos come in at number 3. The Broncos represent the Group of Five's best hope for playoff success, coming off another stellar season and relying heavily on the legs of Ashton Jeanty, their Heisman finalists. Will Boise State be able to keep their confidence and steamroll into the playoffs as they did through the Mountain West Conference to receive the 3rd seed in the first ever 12-team college football playoff? Arizona State's surprise run to a top 4 seed has been fueled by an explosive offense and a defense that thrives on turnovers. Can the Sun Devils sustain their Cinderella story and compete with the heavyweights? Can Heisman hopeful Sam Scatterboot put the Sun Devils on their back and lead them on a playoff run? Is Texas officially back? The number 5 Longhorns finished with a strong regular season, even though they lost in the SEC title game to Georgia. Coach Steve Sarkisian's squad has high expectations coming into this college football playoffs. The biggest question is the health of their starting quarterback, Quinn Ewers, and can they rely on him, or will they have to turn to the arm of Arch Manning? The number 6 ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State boasts one of the top defenses in the field of 12 and a rising star at quarterback Drew Eller. However, the Nittany Lions' struggle in big games under James Franklin linger as a top concern. Can they change the narrative and make a deep run in the playoffs, or will the offensive athleticism of SMU give them trouble like Oregon did in the Big Ten championship game? The Notre Dame Fighting Irish come into the field of 12, ranked at number 7. The Irish enter the playoff with a balanced roster and plenty of postseason experience. However, questions remain about whether their offense can produce enough firepower to compete with the nation's top teams. Can Riley Leonard and the Notre Dame offense do enough to make a run deep into the playoffs, or will they just rely mainly on their defense? Ranked at number 8, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State's explosive offense and elite playmakers make them a dangerous contender, but the inconsistencies of Will Howard and the play at quarterback have raised concerns. Can the Buckeyes find their groove and prove their championship pedigree, or will Ryan Day and the Buckeyes squander another victory at home at the Horseshoe in front of their fans in the college football playoffs to Tennessee? Speaking of Tennessee, the Volunteers come ranked at number 9. The Volunteers' high-powered offense has carried them to this point, but their defense will need to step up big to make a deep playoff run. Can Tennessee's big play offense potential outweigh their defensive lapse? Can Tennessee handle the pressure of the big game at the Horseshoe in Ohio? The Indiana Hoosiers come in ranked at number 10. Indiana's unexpected rise to the playoffs has been one of the season's best stories. With a scrappy defense and a knack for closing games, the Hoosiers are embracing their underdog role. Do they have enough to shock the field of 12 and knock off Notre Dame and South Bend on Friday night? Coming in at number 11 is the SMU Mustangs. SMU's dynamic offense and innovative play calling have earned them a spot in the playoffs, but questions about their defensive capabilities loom large. Can the Mustangs keep pace against a tougher competition like Penn State after losing a late game loss in the ACC Championship to Clemson? Can SMU handle the big game atmosphere in Happy Valley? We will see. And rounding out the field of 12, at number 12 is the Clemson Tigers. Clemson finds itself in unfamiliar territory as the lowest seed in the playoff despite a roller coaster season. The Tigers' talent and coaching pedigree make them a team no one wants to face. Can Dabo Swinney's squad recapture its magic? As we head into Friday's games, every team has something to prove, whether it's validating a season of dominance, seeking redemption, or embracing the underdog role. The first round promises to deliver the high stakes and excitement that make college football so special. Let's see how history begins to unfold. So without any further ado, let's break down the 12 biggest storylines for all 12 college football teams before we get into this first round of games on Friday evening. As Clemson prepares for its pivotal showdown against Texas this Saturday, a key storyline has emerged: the health of running back Phil Mafah. Known for his bruising running style and ability to grind out tough yards, Mafah has been a crucial part of Clemson's offensive attack. However, a lingering shoulder injury has cast doubt on whether he will be in full strength or even available for this crucial matchup. Mafah's presence on the field could significantly impact Clemson's chances. When healthy, he provides a balance to Clemson's offense, opening up opportunities for both the passing game and the quarterback's ability to use play action effectively. His physicality wears down opposing defenses, often allowing the Tigers to dominate in the later stages of games. Without him, Clemson will have to rely on a less experienced running back field and potentially shift more responsibility to quarterback Cade Klubnik to carry the load. Clemson's backup running back Jay Haynes was also injured in the ACC championship game, which is keeping him out of this game. The question remains, will Mafah be healthy enough to lead Clemson over Texas? Reports from practice suggest he has been limited in the recent days, raising concerns about his readiness. If Mafah can't go, Clemson's offensive line will face an even greater challenge in trying to neutralize Texas' stout defensive front. While backup running backs have shown flashes of potential this season, they lack Mafah's experience and ability to consistently deliver in high-pressure situations. Even without a fully healthy Mafah, does Clemson still have a shot to beat Texas? The answer isn't entirely bleak. Clemson's defense, anchored by a dominant front seven, has the ability to disrupt Texas's high-powered offense and led by quarterback Quinn Ewers. If the defense can create turnovers and keep the game within reach, Klubnik and the offense might find ways to put points on the board through creative play calling and utilizing Clemson's talented wide receivers. Additionally, special teams could play a crucial role in tilting the game in Clemson's favor. Ultimately, Clemson's chances hinge on two factors: the effectiveness of Mafah's recovery and the team's ability to adapt if he's unavailable or limited. While the Tigers would undoubtedly prefer to have their star running back at full strength, their resilience as a team can still give them a fighting chance against the formidable Texas Longhorns. SMU faces a daunting challenge as they head to Happy Valley to take on Penn State in one of the most iconic and imposing environments in college football, Beaver Stadium. With its raucous crowd and intimidating whiteout atmosphere, provides a unique test for any visiting team. The question for SMU is twofold. Can the Mustangs handle the big stage environment on the road game in Happy Valley? And are they prepared to match up the physicality of a Big Ten powerhouse like Penn State in the trenches? SMU has enjoyed a strong season, relying on high-powered offense that thrived on tempo and explosive plays. However, playing at Beaver Stadium is unlike anything the Mustangs have experienced this year. The noise and the energy from over 100,000 Penn State fans can disrupt communication and make it difficult for the offense to operate smoothly. SMU's quarterback and offensive line will need to remain composed and execute under intense pressure, as the Nittany Lions defense is known for feeding off the crowd's energy, especially in critical third down situations. The second, perhaps the most critical, challenge lies in the trenches. Penn State's reputation for physical, hard-nosed football is well earned. Their offensive line is known for wearing down opposing defenses and paving the way for a powerful rushing attack. Meanwhile, their defensive front is relentless, capable of dominating at the line of scrimmage and putting consistent pressure on quarterbacks. SMU's offense and defensive lines will need to rise to the occasion to avoid being overwhelmed by the Nittany Lions' physicality. For SMU, success will hinge on their ability to neutralize these advantages. Offensively, they'll need to establish a rhythm early and find ways to exploit mismatches in Penn State's secondary. Quick passes and creative play calling could help mitigate the impact of Penn State's pass rush. Defensively, the Mustangs must focus on stopping the run and forcing Penn State into predictable passing situations. Generating turnovers and capitalizing on mistakes will also be crucial for SMU to have a chance. Ultimately, this game presents an opportunity for SMU to prove they can compete on a national stage against a top-tier opponent. However, the combination of the Happy Valley of atmosphere and Penn State's physical dominance in the trenches poses a significant challenge. Whether the Mustangs can rise to meet this remains to be seen. But one thing is for certain, they'll need to play their best football of the season to leave Happy Valley with a victory. The Indiana Hoosiers football team faces a critical test as they prepare to take on in-state rival Notre Dame. After a disappointing performance earlier this season against Ohio State, where the Hoosiers were decisively defeated in the Horseshoe, many are questioning whether Indiana can win a game that truly matters. With the chance to prove themselves against a storied program like Notre Dame, the stakes are high for this Indiana Hoosiers football team. The loss to Ohio State highlighted significant concerns for Indiana. Their inability to compete in the trenches, combined with inconsistent quarterback play and a lack of explosiveness on offense, left the Hoosiers overmatched against a top-tier opponent. While Ohio State's dominance is no surprise, Indiana's failure to rise to the occasion has only fueled doubts about their ability to compete in big games. Facing Notre Dame, a team with a physical identity and national pedigree, poses a similar challenge for the Hoosiers. Notre Dame brings a balanced attack that can exploit Indiana's weaknesses on both sides of the ball. Their offensive line, traditionally one of the best in the country, could control the line of scrimmage and neutralize Indiana's defensive front. Meanwhile, the Fighting Irish defense is known for its discipline and ability to limit big plays, which puts even more pressure on Indiana's offense to sustain drives and capitalize on scoring opportunities. The question is whether Indiana has the resilience and the playmakers to meet this moment, or if they will once again falter under the spotlight. Adding to the stakes is the in-state rivalry factor. A win against Notre Dame would not only boost Indiana's credibility, but also serve as a statement about the program's direction. However, another decisive loss could reinforce the narrative that Indiana struggles to rise to the occasion in meaningful games. For a program looking to establish itself as more than a middle-of-the-pack Big Ten team, this game represents a chance to take a step forward or a risk falling further into irrelevancy. Ultimately, the question remains, can Indiana finally win a game that matters? The answer will depend on their ability to correct the issues that plagued them against Ohio State and play with the composure and execution required to upset a team like Notre Dame. For the Hoosiers, this is more than just an in-state rivalry game. It's an opportunity to rewrite the narrative surrounding their program. Whether they can seize it, it remains to be seen, but we will find out on Friday night. As Tennessee prepares to face Ohio State in a highly anticipated matchup, the Volunteers are stepping into one of the most challenging environments in college football, the Horseshoe in Ohio Stadium. Known for its deafening crowd and electrifying atmosphere, playing at the Horseshoe is a daunting task for any visiting team. For Tennessee, the question looms large: can they handle the high-pressure environment and deliver a performance strong enough to topple Ohio State? The Volunteers have shown resilience this season, but playing in Columbus is a different beast. Ohio State fans can create a hostile atmosphere, making communication on offense a significant challenge. Tennessee's quarterback and offensive line will need to remain composed, especially when facing a Buckeyes defensive front that thrives on generating pressure. False starts, miscommunications, and rushed decisions could quickly derail Tennessee's game plan if they cannot effectively manage the noise and intensity. Equally critical is Tennessee's ability to contain Ohio State's high-powered offense, led by a dynamic quarterback and receiving corps brimming with NFL-caliber talent. The Buckeyes have consistently overwhelmed opponents with their explosive playmaking ability. Tennessee's defense will need to play its best game of the season, focusing on limiting big plays and forcing Ohio State into long, methodical drives. Key to this effort will be Tennessee's pass rush, which must disrupt the Buckeyes quarterback while avoiding leaving their secondary exposed. Additionally, the Volunteers will have to tighten up their run defense to prevent Ohio State from establishing balance in their offensive attack. If Tennessee allows the Buckeyes to dictate the pace with a strong ground game, it could be a long night for the Volunteers. For Tennessee to have a chance, they'll need to create turnovers and capitalize on any mistakes Ohio State makes. A tall order in a venue where the home team rarely falters. While Tennessee has shown promise this season, the Horseshoe presents a unique challenge that tests a team's mental toughness and execution under pressure. The Volunteers must play a near-perfect game to overcome both the talent gap and the overwhelming environment. The answer to whether Tennessee can handle the Horseshoe and keep Ohio State's offense in check will ultimately define their performance on Saturday. Ohio State finds itself in a unique and challenging position as it prepares to face Tennessee at home in Ohio Stadium. While the Horseshoe is usually a fortress for the Buckeyes, this time the atmosphere could be complicated by the lingering effects of their crushing loss to Michigan in their regular season finale. With head coach Ryan Day under intense scrutiny, the pressure to deliver a decisive victory in front of a potentially disgruntled fan base could loom large. The loss to Michigan has undoubtedly left a sour taste in the mouths of Ohio State's faithful. For a program with championship aspirations, falling short against their biggest rival for the fourth straight year has ignited questions about the team's direction and Day's ability to deliver in the biggest moments. As Tennessee arrives in Columbus, the Buckeyes won't just be battling their opponent, they'll also be fighting to restore the confidence of their home crowd. If things don't start well for Ohio State, the crowd's frustration could quickly become a factor, potentially creating a tense and unforgiving environment. The pressure on Ryan Day is immense. Despite an impressive overall record, the losses to Michigan have cast a shadow over his tenure. With some fans questioning whether he's the right leader to guide the Buckeyes to a national title, this matchup against Tennessee, while not as historic as the big game, carries enormous stakes for Ryan Day. A misstep here could further erode support from the fan base and amplify doubts about his ability to handle high-pressure situations. Conversely, a strong performance could serve as a turning point, helping to rebuild trust and momentum heading into this postseason. For the players, the challenge will be tuning out the noise and focusing at the task at hand. Ohio State boasts a talented roster capable of competing with any team in the country, but emotional baggage from Michigan loss could linger. The Buckeyes offense in particular must find its rhythm early to settle the crowd and reestablish confidence. Meanwhile, the defense will need to show resilience and avoid costly mistakes that plagued them against Michigan. Can Ohio State rise above the pressure of their own home crowd and deliver a statement win? Or will the emotional weight of their recent loss to Michigan and scrutiny on their head coach hinder their ability to perform? The answer will not only determine the outcome against Tennessee, but also set the tone for the Buckeyes' immediate future. All eyes will be on Notre Dame Friday evening, a team that has consistently been competitive but falls short often when it comes to securing a spot in the college football playoff. The Fighting Irish have built a reputation for their defensive prowess, but as stakes get higher, one crucial question looms. Can they win the big game without putting all the pressure on their defense? And can their offense perform at a high level that could carry them deep into the college football playoffs? Notre Dame's defense has always been one of the team's strongest attributes. With a solid front seven and a secondary that can lock down opposing wide receivers, they've been able to win big games by controlling the pace and making timely stops. But in big games against elite offenses, this is sometimes being proven insufficient. The pressure on the defense to maintain perfection has been overwhelming, and in key moments, it's been the defense that has been expected to keep them in the games. The issue that has plagued Notre Dame for years, however, is their offense. While they've had glimpses of brilliance in offensive play calling, especially with playmakers in the backfield, the consistency just hasn't been there. When the defense can't completely shut down high-powered offenses, the Irish need to be able to answer back with scoring offense that can go toe-to-toe with the best in the country. Quarterback play is a huge factor in whether Notre Dame can compete at the highest level. Can their signal caller execute in high-pressure situations, stretch the field with dynamic passing games, and keep the chains moving when it matters the most? Without a reliable offensive unit, the defense is left to pick up the slack, and the margins in big games are too slim for that to be sustainable. As the Irish approach their toughest matchup of the season, this question is one of the most urgent. Can they avoid the trap of relying too heavily on their defense and instead showcase an offense that has the firepower to match up with explosive teams they'll face in the postseason? If they can find the balance, Notre Dame could be a real contender for a shot at the national title. In the coming weeks, the Fighting Irish have an opportunity to prove that they are more than just a team that excels in defensive battles. A strong offensive showing could be the key to breaking through in the 2024 season, pushing them past their limitations and into conversations as true championship contenders. But in order to do that, they will need to demonstrate that they can play complete football, both on offense and defense, to stand tall against the best college football has to offer. We will see on Friday night. As Penn State prepares to face SMU in a critical postseason matchup, the pressure is mounting for head coach James Franklin and his program. Despite consistent success in the regular season and bold appearances, Penn State has struggled to win marquee games under Franklin's leadership, especially against top-tier opponents. The question looms: can Penn State finally get over the hump and deliver a defining victory, or will this game further highlight their inability to break through on a national stage? Adding to the intrigue is the explosive offense SMU brings to the table. Known for their high-tempo, high-scoring attack, the Mustangs pose a unique challenge for Penn State's defense. The Nittany Lions have boasted one of the nation's best defense this season, anchored by a dominant front seven and a secondary capable of creating turnovers. However, SMU's ability to stretch the field with deep passes and exploiting matchups in space could test Penn State in ways they haven't been tested all year, except for facing Oregon. Will Franklin and this defensive staff have the right game plan to contain SMU's potent offense, or will the Mustangs find ways to exploit the cracks? Another factor to consider is the home crowd at Beaver Stadium. While playing in front of a supportive fan base is usually an advantage, it can become a double-edged sword if things start to go wrong. The disappointment of falling short against Michigan earlier this season still lingers, and the pressure to deliver a statement win is palpable. If Penn State struggles early against SMU, frustration could mount in the stands, creating a tense environment that may impact the team's performance. Similar to the challenge Ohio State faces against Tennessee, Penn State must manage both the expectations of their fans and the pressure of the moment. For Franklin, this game represents more than just a postseason win. It's an opportunity to silence the critics and prove that he can still lead Penn State to success on the biggest stages. For SMU, it's a chance to showcase their program's growth and prove they can compete with the traditional college football power. The stakes are high for both teams, and the outcome could shape the narrative for each program moving forward. Whether Penn State can rise to the occasion or falter under the weight of expectations remain to be seen, but we will find out Saturday. As Texas prepares for a high-stakes matchup against Clemson this Saturday, all eyes are on starting quarterback Quinn Ewers. Coming off a tough loss in the SEC championship game to Georgia and a season marred by inconsistent play, Ewers is now dealing with a high ankle injury that raises serious questions about his ability to lead Texas to victory. With the stakes higher than ever, is Ewers healthy enough to perform at his best, or should Texas consider turning to their highly touted backup, Arch Manning? Ewers' health is the first major concern. Reports suggest he's been limited in practice this week, and while the coaching staff has expressed cautious optimism about his availability, there is no guarantee he'll be operating at full strength. Ankle injuries can severely hinder a quarterback's mobility, and for Ewers, who relies on his ability to extend plays and deliver throws on the move, this could be a significant limitation. In the SEC championship game, his lack of sharpness was evident, and if that trend continues, it could spell trouble against a Clemson defense known for its aggressiveness and ability to force mistakes. If Ewers isn't 100%, should Texas consider making a bold move to turning to freshman quarterback Arch Manning? The freshman phenom has yet to make meaningful snaps in a game of this magnitude, but his potential is undeniable. Manning's poise and pedigree have been looted since his high school days, and some fans and analysts believe he could inject a spark into the Longhorns' offense. However, relying on an untested freshman in such a critical game carries its own risk. Clemson's defense is among the best in the nation, and throwing Manning into the fire could lead to costly turnovers or mistakes. The decision ultimately comes down to how the coaching staff evaluates Ewers' readiness and whether they believe Manning's upside outweighs the potential downsides of his inexperience. If Ewers starts but struggles early, the pressure to make a mid-game switch could grow. Texas have enough weapons on offense, including their talented receiving core and strong running game, to support either quarterback. But the margin of error is razor thin against a disciplined Clemson team. For Texas to emerge victorious, they need stability at quarterback position. Whether the stability comes from a hobbled Ewers or a bold gamble on Manning remains to be seen. The decision could define not just this game, but the trajectory of Texas football moving forward completely. As the Arizona State Sun Devils headed to the final stretch of the season, the excitement surrounding their potential playoff run is mounting. Leading the charge is Heisman finalist Sam Scadaboo, whose dazzling performances has kept ASU in the national spotlight. But with their leading wide receiver Jordan Tyson sidelined due to injury, a crucial question emerges. Can Arizona State make a magical playoff run relying solely on Scadaboo and their dominant run game? Or will they need someone to step up at wide receiver to truly compete with the best teams in this part of the season? Scadaboo has been a revelation for the Sun Devils this season. His combination of speed, vision, and toughness has turned Arizona State's ground game into one of the most potent in the country. Whether it's breaking off big runs or grinding out tough yards, Scadaboo has the ability to single-handedly carry this offense. The team's success has, to a large extent, been built around his ability to take over games on the ground. In theory, a powerful rushing attack could be enough to propel ASU into the national championship consideration. The physical nature of Scadaboo's running style, coupled with the strong offensive line, gives the Sun Devils a chance to control the clock and wear down opposing defenses. In a postseason where ball control and defense often reign supreme, Arizona State could certainly make some noise by leaning on Scadaboo's talent. However, the loss of Jordan Tyson, their leading wide receiver, leaves a significant hole in Arizona State's offense. Tyson has definitely been one of Sam Leavitt's most reliable targets all season, providing ASU with a downfield threat to keep defenses honest. With Tyson out of the lineup, it's fair to question whether the Sun Devils can maintain the offensive balance needed to sustain a playoff run. While a strong running game can dominate in the regular season, playoff football is a different animal. Teams with playoff aspirations must be able to stretch the field and score in a variety of ways. Arizona State's offense, without a proven threat at wide receiver, could become predictable. Opposing defenses may begin to stack the box, daring ASU's remaining receivers to step up. Can any of them take on the challenge and provide a consistent big play presence? The question remains to be seen. To truly contend for a playoff spot, Arizona State will need to prove that they can overcome this gap in their offense. Scadaboo can certainly carry them far, but playoff teams are rarely one-dimensional. Arizona State will need someone, whether it's a young receiver stepping up or a current player breaking out of their shell, to make a defense pay for focusing too much on their run game. The question will define ASU's postseason hopes. Can they continue to dominate the ground game with Scadaboo, or will they find a wide receiver who can become the reliable option that Tyson was? The answer could make or break their playoff chances. If they can strike a balance between their powerful rushing attack and rejuvenated receiving core, they might just have enough to make a magical run through the college football playoffs. If not, they may be left wishing for a few more playmakers to step up when it counted the most. As the Boise State Broncos prepare for a potential college football playoff run, there's a significant sense of optimism surrounding the team. At the heart of their success is Ashton Jeanty, the Heisman Trophy runner-up whose dynamic playmaking ability has carried the Broncos to new heights. His dazzling performances have made the Boise State Broncos one of the most talked about teams in the country, and many are wondering if he can lead them on a magical playoff run. However, as the Broncos make their way into the playoff spotlight as the number 4 seed with a bye, a critical question arises. Can Boise State legitimately rely on Jeanty to carry them through the postseason, or will the physicality of the trenches against true Power 4 football teams prove too much to overcome? And will the pressure of being a top seed with the bye overwhelm them in crucial moments? Ashton Jeanty has been nothing short of spectacular this season. establishing himself as one of the most explosive players in college football. His ability to break tackles, acceleration in open space, and score from anywhere on the field has been the driving force behind the Boise State offense success. Whether running between the tackles or catching passes out of the backfield, Ashton Jeanty has demonstrated an uncanny ability to change the course of the game in an instant. For Boise State, Jeanty's Heisman-level production is a luxury, and he is the one player who can potentially carry them deep into a playoff run. His talent could allow the Broncos to outlast teams with superior rosters in terms of raw athleticism. However, as impressive as Jeanty is, there is a pressing concern. Can he carry the load on his own, or will the challenges of the postseason be too much for him to handle without help from a more balanced attack? As Boise State has demonstrated this season, their offense can be high-powered and effective. But when it comes to the college football playoff, they will face teams with the level of physicality that they haven't consistently encountered in their conference play. The Broncos' offensive line will be tested like never before against elite defensive fronts that they will face in the postseason. Against true Power 4 teams who are known for their size, speed, and depth, Boise State offensive line will have to step up in a big way to give Jeanty the space and time he needs to do what he's best at. The question isn't whether Jeanty can evade defenders in open space, but whether the Boise State offensive line can hold its own in the trenches. Powerhouse programs with top-tier defensive lines are capable of disrupting the best backfields, and Jeanty's success will be directly tied to his line's ability to hold their ground. Will Boise State offensive line rise to the occasion, or will the physical nature of the playoffs expose any weaknesses? As the number 4 seed in the college football playoffs, with the bye, Boise State faces a unique set of challenges. While the bye offers them valuable rest, it also adds pressure. They will enter the playoff with a target on their back, knowing that any misstep will end their season. The Broncos will have to shake off the rust and come out on fire. But the long wait between games could also disrupt their rhythm. Will they be able to carry their momentum from the successful regular season and conference championship win? Or will the break cause them to lose the sharpness that's been the key part of their success? Moreover, being the number 4 seed means that Boise State will likely face one of the top teams in the nation in their first playoff game, and there is always the potential for an upset if they don't execute at the highest level. The pressure of having to face a dominant opponent right off the bat could test their resolve. As Boise State heads into the college football playoffs, the question surrounding their ability to succeed is multifaceted. While Ashton Jeanty is undoubtedly a Heisman caliber player who can elevate the team, the physicality of a Power 4 team in the trenches remains a major concern. The Broncos will need their offensive line to deliver and create space for Jeanty to operate, while also proving that they can handle the defensive lines of the nation's elite teams. Add in the pressure of being a top seed with the bye, and the stakes couldn't be higher for Boise State. The question looms, can Ashton Jeanty carry them through, or will the weight of the challenges ahead prove too much? The coming weeks will answer the question as the Broncos look to make a statement and show that they belong among college football's elites. If they can find a way to manage the physicality of the playoffs while still allowing Jeanty to shine, there's a chance for Boise State to make a deep run. But the road ahead will be tough, and every misstep could bring an end to what's been a magical season for the Broncos. As the college football playoffs approach, the Georgia Bulldogs find themselves facing a new, unexpected challenge. After a tense SEC championship victory over Texas, Georgia secured their spot in the playoff, but the win came at a cost. Starting quarterback Carson Beck, who has been the backbone of their offense this season, was injured during the game, casting doubt on the Bulldogs' chances at a run at a national title. With the uncertainty surrounding Beck's availability, the question arises, can Georgia continue their championship quest with the backup quarterback Gunnar Stockton under center, or will the loss of their starting quarterback derail their playoff hopes if he can't make the start in the quarterfinals? Carson Beck has been instrumental in Georgia's success this season, leading their offense with poise and precision. His ability to read defenses, manage the game, and make key throws have been a critical factor in the Bulldogs' run this year. However, in the win against Texas, Beck sustained an injury that left his status in the upcoming playoff games in question. While Georgia was able to pull out a victory in the SEC championship despite Beck's injury, questions remain about their ability to perform at the highest level without their star quarterback. Backup quarterbacks are often thrust into a spotlight during moments like this, but the pressure on Gunnar Stockton will be immense. Can he rise to the occasion and deliver in a pressure-filled environment of the college football playoffs? Or will the loss of Beck be too much for the Bulldogs to overcome? Gunnar Stockton, who has shown flashes of talent throughout the season, now faces the task of leading Georgia through the most critical stretch of the year. While he has the potential to be a solid replacement for Beck, Stockton has limited experience in high-stake games. The jump from backup to starting quarterback in the pressure of the playoffs is a daunting one, especially for a team that has been built around a well-oiled, balanced offense led by their seasoned leader like Beck. Stockton will need to step into Beck's shoes and prove that he can handle the spotlight. This isn't just about managing the game or limiting mistakes. Georgia will need a quarterback who can make plays in crucial moments. Whether it's extending plays with his legs or making accurate throws in the passing game, Stockton will have to demonstrate he has the tools to lead the Bulldogs through the toughest competition in the country. While Georgia did manage to defeat Texas in the SEC championship, the win wasn't without controversy. The game was close, and there were moments where Georgia struggled to find their rhythm offensively. The performance was far from dominant, and now without their starting quarterback, those struggles could be magnified against higher caliber teams they'll face in the college football playoffs. The SEC championship victory, while important, didn't come with the kind, resounding confidence that a dominant performance typically provides. With Stockton now taking the reins, the Bulldogs would need to make significant adjustments, especially if they face more formidable defenses in the playoffs. The doubts surrounding their ability to win the big games without Beck are growing, and Georgia's path to a national title have become a lot more uncertain. If Georgia is to continue their deep playoff run, the defense, running game, and overall team discipline will need to take on more responsibility to compensate for any potential shortcomings in the passing game. The Bulldogs have one of the best defenses in the country, and they will have to lean on that unit to keep them in games while Stockton finds his rhythm. The running game, led by one of the most talented backfields in college football, will also need to take some pressure off the quarterback position, allowing Stockton to manage the game without putting the entire burden on his shoulders. However, the college football playoffs is unforgiving, and every team left standing is capable of exploiting weaknesses. Georgia will need to prove that they can win with a backup quarterback and that their overall depth and coaching will be enough to carry them through. They may not have the luxury of relying on a flawless offensive performance from Beck, but with the right adjustments, Georgia can still make a deep run in the playoffs. The question now is whether Georgia can go the distance without their starting quarterback. Gunnar Stockton has the potential to lead the team, but will the pressure of stepping in for a Heisman caliber QB be too much to handle? Can the Bulldogs continue to rely on their defense, special teams, and running game to carry them through? Or will the combination of a questionable SEC championship win, an uncertain quarterback situation, and the tough playoff opponents be too much for Georgia to overcome? As the college football playoffs begins, the Georgia Bulldogs are set to face their toughest opponents yet. The road to another title was already challenging, but now, with the backup quarterback at the helm, Georgia's playoff hopes hang in the balance. The coming weeks will determine whether they can defy the odds and rise to the occasion, or if the loss of Carson Beck will bring the magical season to a heartbreaking end. As the college football season reaches its climax, the Oregon Ducks find themselves standing at the pinnacle, ranked number 1 and undefeated, with their eyes set firmly on the college football playoff and a potential national title. Their offense has been explosive, their defense tenacious, and the team as a whole has showcased incredible depth and resilience. But as the Ducks approach the biggest stage in the college football playoffs, one question looms over them. Can they remain perfect throughout the playoff gauntlet and rise to the occasion against the nation's top teams? Or will they suffer a misstep that ends their magical season? The Oregon Ducks have been nearly flawless this season. Well, they actually are. They're undefeated. With dominating opponents with a balanced, high-powered offense led by their dual-threat quarterback and an efficient, tough-as-nails defense, the Ducks have displayed the ability to win in a variety of ways, whether it's outscoring opponents in shootouts or locking down on defense in close, gritty games. With weapons all over the field, including an elite running game and receiving core that can stretch the field, Oregon has shown that they can compete at the highest level. As the #1 team, Oregon has undoubtedly earned their place at the top. But as the competition stiffens in the playoffs, the Ducks will be tested like never before. They'll face teams that are just as hungry, just as talented, and just as prepared to knock them off. The question now is whether they can rise to the occasion and play their best football when it matters the most. Despite the Ducks' perfect record, there are still lingering concerns about whether Oregon can avoid a critical misstep in the pressure cooker of the college football playoff. While the Ducks have shown consistency throughout the regular season, they've had moments where their game plan was tested and a few minor flaws emerged. In some of their tight victories, their offense wasn't as sharp or their defense had lapses in inopportune times. These occasional missteps were manageable against regular season opponents, but in the playoff environment, every mistake is magnified. Against the nation's elite teams, the margin for error becomes razor thin. A costly turnover, missed opportunity, or defensive breakdown could quickly derail their hopes of securing the national title. For a team that has had flashes of brilliance, but also moments of vulnerability, the question remains, will they rise above the pressure, or will those small mistakes become fatal when the stakes are at its highest? The path ahead for Oregon is far from easy. They will face the country's toughest teams, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Can the Ducks continue to thrive in high-pressure environments? Will their offensive firepower be enough to overpower elite defenses, or will they need to dig deeper into their game plan and make adjustments to find success in close, hard-fought battles? Oregon's season has been magical, but there is always the chance that one misstep, whether it's a bad matchup, a key injury, or an uncharacteristic performance, could end it all. The pressure is immense, and while their dominance has been undeniable, the Ducks will have to prove that they can withstand the biggest test of all. Ultimately, the question isn't whether Oregon has the talent to win it all, it's whether they can remain perfect when the stakes are at its highest. Can they handle the intense spotlight of the college football playoffs and deliver on their potential, or will the weight of the undefeated season become too much to bear, leading to a heartbreaking end to their magical run? The answers will come soon enough as Oregon's path to the championship unfolds and what promises to be an unforgettable playoff journey. And there you have it. Those are my 12 biggest storylines heading into the first round of college football playoff weekend. So let me know, guys. Get down in the comment section. Do you agree with my 12 biggest storylines, or do you feel like the 12 storylines are something totally different? Get down in the comment section and let me know what you think. Also, don't be afraid to like, share, comment, and subscribe on the video. And until next time, guys, this is Some Random Sports Dude signing out.